Tell me about the idea of mindset when you were a child with your parents or your siblings or your friends around you. Do you feel like there was I call it a miracle mentality? A miracle mentality to me is extraordinary thinking, uncommon thinking. Were there people in your surroundings that thought like that?
So I want to explain a little bit about why I have this half a beard. And we'll come back to mindset from there.
Yes.
Um, so this half a beard has three reasons. The first one, as I said, I have scars on this side of my face, so there's no hair. But of course, I could shave. And for many years, I shaved half my face, but I shaved half my face. And then about 9 years ago, I went on a month-long hike. And during that month-long hike, I didn't shave. The month ended. I look in the mirror. I didn't like how I look. It's a very strange look. It was very strange to me. I looked and said, I don't want to look like this. But I said, I spent the whole month not growing my beard. Let me keep it for a few more weeks because I'll never do it again. I'll shave and I'll never do it. So I kept it for a few more weeks. And then two unexpected things happened. The first one was that a few people started writing me, thanking me for the half a beard. For example, the woman who works across the street from me left me a note in my mailbox thanking me for the half a beard. Now, why were these people thanking me? These were people who were struggling with their own injuries. These were people who were feeling that they have to hide. For example, the woman who worked across from me, she had a big burn on her arm, and she said she always walks with long sleeve shirts so that nobody will see. And she said that me being so out with my lack of symmetry was very helpful for her, and she was going to start being less bashful. Okay, so I said, if it helps some other people, let me keep that half a beard going. But the real strange thing and unexpected thing, the second one, happened about 4 months down the line. 4 months down the line, I feel higher acceptance for my own injury. I have 70% burns, lots of things are wrong with me. All of a sudden, at age 50, I have higher acceptance. And I think to myself, why now? What has happened recently that I feel that the injury is not me fighting with it, but it's part of my body? And what I'm realizing is that these people who told me that they want to stop hiding, for me, half shaving was also hiding. Like imagine I woke up when I was shaving, smooth on this side, stubble on this side. And the act of half shaving is also an act of looking less non-symmetrical. I was in fact using shaving to blend in so people would not notice as much. And letting go of that was incredibly healthy. It was incredibly, created tremendous energy within me for self-acceptance. Now, why am I telling you all this story? I think this is the story of social science, and it's also the story of mindsets. So, if you ask me what is social science about, social science for me is about finding these half a beards, these things that we think are not good for us, but are actually good for us. For many years I shaved. In fact, there was a doctor in my burn department that wanted to tattoo the right side of my face to help me be more symmetrical. It was the opposite of what was useful, but that's what he wanted to do. But going back to your question about mindset, so I think there are things about big mindset, but there's lots of things about little daily mindset. And I think that for somebody like me, standing in front of the mirror once a day and hiding my lack of symmetry was a kind of, it basically reinforced itself every day about, okay, people should not see it, they shouldn't pay attention, I should hide it. And leaving that mindset behind and accepting my lack of symmetry was incredibly helpful. So, I know that you're looking for kind of the big mindset shift, and there are some of those. But I also want to say that I think there's lots of little mindset shifts that are just daily and repeated, that are very fundamental to how we build ourselves.
I love this. I write that sometimes in life we're just flowing and we have this momentum, and then a life interruption happens. Maybe it's a little child and they find out their parents are going to get a divorce, or maybe it's somebody finds out that they have cancer. For you, it was the accident that takes place when you're younger. The life interruptions, from my standpoint, as a person that helps people try to get through problems, is very difficult on most. Most people, when they have a life interruption or a setback, they sit in the setback and they settle in it. And I love your approach of being yourself. This is me, having a certain mindset, and continuing to move on in your beautiful life.
Let me tell you about the study I did on this life interruptions.
Yeah.
So maybe the biggest life interruption that anybody could get is a news about a terminal illness.
Mm-hmm.
So I interviewed palliative care experts. Palliative care experts are people that work not on fixing the disease, but working on quality of life. So they usually come into the picture in the last few weeks in a hospice or at home, but worry about pain and so on. But anyway, I took a group of palliative care experts and I gave them the following problem. I said, imagine there's a person who is diagnosed with a terminal illness. And on average, the time between people get diagnosed with a terminal illness and the end of life in Western society is slightly longer than 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, only about 6 or 7% of us will get to die quickly. Most of us will have plenty of time. So
Yes.
I say, okay, so you get somebody who is diagnosed today and you are assigned to them on that day. You don't wait to the end. You're assigned to them on that day, day one, when they were just told. And you have infinite amount of time to help them. You help them with symptoms, and you help them with their social goals, and you help them with solving relationship problems if they have any, and you help them, and you help them, and you help them, and you're with them for 5 and some years, and then they pass away, and you help them in every way you can. And then after they passed away, half an hour later, you wake them up. I know it's not possible, but for the experiment. And I said, and now you tell that person that just passed away, you said, look, you can repeat one of your chapters of life again. You can repeat early childhood, elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Pick a chapter, you can repeat it. And I asked them, how many of them would repeat the last chapter of life? And guess what? They thought that about 90% would pick the last chapter of life. Now, they say that right now they wouldn't, but they said with the right help, right? With them being there on their side. And basically what they said is that this could be the most meaningful and wonderful chapter in people's lives. Not the last 2 weeks, not the last month, but as a big chapter, they say it could be wonderful. Now, why is it? How come it could be such a good chapter? It's because of basically what you said. We mostly live an unexamined life. Tomorrow is going to be just like today, just like yesterday.
Yes.
We don't really stop. It's very hard to basically ask ourselves the tough question. Why am I here? Is this where I really want to be? Now, from time to time, some of us have midlife crisis. And then we ask ourselves tough questions. But a message, a finding about terminal illness is not just like a midlife crisis. It actually liberates people to do things. So imagine that you have a midlife crisis when you're 40. And you say, okay, I don't like my job. I want to be an artist. I don't like this. I don't like this. But you might live for another 50 years. Can you afford to make all of these changes? When you get the message on a terminal illness, people basically say, I'm getting a permission to act and do things that I really want. So for example, there was a guy that I recently helped make decisions about his end of life. And when he got the terminal illness, he said, I'm stopping everything I'm doing and I'm moving to the west coast of the country where my kids and grandchildren are. And 2 years later, he said, I met my wife picking maple syrup in Vermont. I want one more
Yes.
season of maple syrup. And then chemotherapy was not working, and he passed away while picking maple syrup. But the guy, he fixed relationships. He did all the right things in the last chapter. So it's kind of a shame that I think too many of us are not doing these changes when we can. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. But too many of us are with these not great chapters because we're not heading change heads on. We're kind of ignoring it, procrastinating, delaying, not thinking about this. And it's kind of a shame.